The town of Green Hill was small but full of life. Its streets were always noisy, with traders shouting, children running around barefoot, and men sitting under mango trees talking about politics. Everyone knew everyone. That also meant that everyone knew Matthew, the drunkard of the town. Matthew had not always been that way. Years ago, he had been a carpenter. He had a wife, Rose, and 2 little children. His hands were skilled at shaping wood, and people came from far to buy his chairs and tables. But tragedy struck when his family died in a fire that consumed his house while he was away working. Matthew never recovered. He found comfort in bottles of cheap gin. Day after day, drinks swallowed him, until all that remained was a staggering shadow of the man he once was. Now, when people saw him, they only shook their heads. Poor Matthew, some said. What a waste. Children laughed behind his back. Traders pushed him aside whenever he stumbled into their stores. To most people, he was a joke, not a man. But though his body was weak and his mind often clouded, Matthew's eyes still saw things clearly. He had nothing else to do most days, so he sat in corners, watching people. He noticed details others ignored, and that was how he began to see through Prophet Evans. Prophet Evans had arrived in Green Hill 3 years earlier. Tall, handsome, with a smooth voice and white shining robes. He looked like holiness itself. He spoke with authority, quoting Bible verses in ways that made people shiver. The Lord sent me here, he declared on his first day. I am your prophet, your light, your guide. At first, some people doubted him, but soon he began to perform what looked like miracles. A sick woman said she was healed after his prayers. A businessman claimed his shop grew after giving the prophet a fat envelope. A barren couple cried with joy when the prophet declared they would have children. Slowly, the whole town came under his spell. Evans built a big church at the edge of Green Hill. Every Sunday, it overflowed. Every Friday night, buses brought in people from other villages. The prophet lived in a fine house, drove expensive cars, and walked with bodyguards. To many, he was untouchable. Matthew, however, saw things differently. From his spot at the back of the church compound, he began to notice patterns. He saw the prophet's assistants mingling with people before service, asking them friendly questions, and later disappearing into the prophet's office. He noticed how Evans' prophecies matched things people had said openly. He also saw the envelopes of money being carried secretly into the prophet's room. One afternoon, Matthew sat under a neem tree, talking to himself as usual, when 2 women passed by. "Ah, Sister Grace," one said, "the prophet prayed for me. He told me my husband is hiding money from me. How could he know? Only God could show him." Matthew chuckled bitterly. "God? Or your own mouth?" he muttered. "Didn't you tell people at the well yesterday? The prophet only repeats what he hears." The women looked at him with disgust. "Go and drink your gin, useless man. What do you know about prophets?" Matthew lifted his bottle. "More than you think," he said softly. The day of the great revival came like a storm. Posters had been pasted everywhere. Night of fire and miracles. Come and meet the God of Prophet Evans. Traders closed early. Even people who rarely went to church came, curious. Matthew almost didn't go. He sat in his little hut, staring at his bottle. But something inside him stirred. He remembered his wife, Rose, who always warned him about false prophets before she died. Her words echoed, "Matthew, always use your eyes. Not every man who shouts God is sent by him." With a sigh, Matthew grabbed his bottle and staggered toward the church. The place was overflowing. Drums pounded, women danced, men clapped, and the prophet sat on a golden chair like a king. When he finally rose, the crowd shouted as if heaven itself had come down. "My children," he began, his deep voice carrying power. "Tonight your chains shall break, your sickness shall vanish, your enemies shall fall." The crowd roared. Matthew leaned against the fence, his bottle resting on his knee. He muttered, "Let us see tonight's show." The prophet began calling out names. "You there, your name is Esther. You wear a red scarf. The enemy has locked your womb." A woman screamed and ran forward, a red scarf flying. The crowd shouted, "Power! The man of God has spoken." Matthew shook his head. He had heard her complaining earlier. It was no miracle of knowledge. More prophecies came. "You young man in the blue shirt, you lost your job last month." The man fell to his knees, crying. People shouted again. But Matthew's eyes narrowed. He remembered seeing that same man talking to the prophet's assistant outside. The assistant nodded, listening carefully. As the night went on, people threw money at the altar, goats bleated outside, and hope filled the air. Then came the turning point. "There is a man here," the prophet said suddenly, his voice deep. "A man destroyed by the spirit of alcohol. People mock you, call you useless. But God says tonight is your night of freedom. Come forward." The crowd gasped. Every eye turned to Matthew. "That's him," people whispered. "It's old Matt. The prophet has seen his case." Voices rose. "Go forward, Matthew. Let the man of God save you." Matthew stood slowly, bottle in hand. His legs trembled, but not from drinking. Something stronger was burning in him. He walked forward, and silence fell. The prophet spread his arms. "My son, come and be free." But Matthew laughed, a rough, bitter laugh that echoed across the field. "Free? You want to free me? No, prophet. Tonight it is you who must be freed." Gasps filled the crowd. The prophet frowned. "What do you mean? Do not let the devil use you, my son." Matthew raised his voice. "I may be a drunkard, but I am not blind. You are no prophet. You are a liar, a cheat." The crowd erupted. "Blasphemy! Silence him!" Ushers rushed forward. But Matthew lifted his bottle high. "Listen to me, all of you. This man's miracles are tricks. His prophecies are lies. He hears your stories from his spies, then pretends God spoke to him. Tonight I will prove it." He threw his bottle toward the altar. It smashed, and from the broken pieces, a folded paper rolled out. Gasps filled the air. Matthew bent, picked it up, and held it high. "I found this near his office. A list of names, clothes, and problems. All the things he claimed God told him tonight are written here like items on a shopping list." Young men grabbed the paper, reading aloud. "Esther, red scarf, barren. James, blue shirt, lost job." The crowd went wild. Some screamed, some cried, others shouted in anger. Faces turned toward the prophet, no longer with respect, but with fury. "Fraud!" someone shouted. "You have fooled us." The prophet stammered, "Lies! Lies! Do not listen to that drunkard." But the people were no longer blind. They surged forward, pulling him from the stage. His robe tore, his staff fell, and his guards could not hold the angry crowd. The assistant was caught too, beaten until the police arrived. By dawn, Prophet Evans was in handcuffs, his empire of lies broken. And Matthew, the man everyone had mocked, now stood in the center of the crowd, his eyes wet with tears. People bowed their heads to him. "Forgive us, Matthew," one woman whispered. "We called you useless, but tonight you saved us." Matthew shook his head. "I am not a hero. I am just a broken man, but even a broken bottle can still shine light when the sun hits it." That day, Green Hill changed forever. The church closed, the prophet was taken away,
and people began to trust less in men and more in truth. And Matthew, though still struggling with his bottle, was no longer called useless. They called him the watchman. And so it was that a drunkard, the one everyone despised, exposed the greatest lie Green Hill had ever known. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.